Yo guys, Chinky's here. Today I'm bringing you guys a video on everything you need to know to be preparing yourself for Shadowlands PvP when it comes to Unholy DK. So I'll be going through talents, PvP talents, Covenant, what gear you'd want and where to get it, and then a little bit about how to play Unholy DK, so like the damage rotation, setting up kills, and the defensive gameplay. Anyway, hope you guys liked the video. And let's get started. So I just want to tell you guys that I would appreciate if you guys subscribed and liked the video. It helps me out a lot. The YouTube algorithm and shit. Anyway, back to the video. So starting with talents and PvP talents, the main thing that is different from pre-patch to the real thing is Necromancer Bargain now. Is probably a little bit better than Decomposing or Necrotic Aura. The reason behind that is because when you press Apocalypse, the damage over time is going to be about the same damage as your pet does, even with the Mastery buff. But it's going to now be a way lower cooldown. So it's going to go all the way down to 30 seconds, as you guys can see here. And it's still going to give you 2 runes. Now, what this makes you able to do is just your rotation is going to feel way nicer because you're going to get that generation of 2 runes on a 30-second cooldown. You can even play Army of the Damned to make it even lower. You're probably going to get about 3 to 4 death coils out. So it's going to be about a 25-second cooldown. So you can do that on every single go. And as in PvP, you're going to be Chains of Icing way more. So it's just going to feel way nicer. Other than that though, you want your Race Abomination and Decomposing Aura or Necrotic Aura. If you need Antimagic Zone, obviously you'll pick that. You can pick, Cadaver Prowler as well. And Necrotic Strike, it might be useful if they buff it, but at the moment it's not that good. So just like the basic stuff is going to be something like this, or this. It's kind of hard to know. The Decomposing is a bit better, but it requires 5 seconds of setting up, or 10 seconds of setting up, because it does every 2 seconds and it's 5 stacks. Anyway, talents, Clawing Shadow seems to be the best to go, because you're going to be wanting a little bit of mastery, and it just does more damage than the Necrotic Strike, and you can do damage from range, and it also goes through armor, and a lot of classes that you're going to be brawling with do have armor. So even if they're gonna be in front of your face, so for example, Red Paladins, Warriors, other DKs, Clawing Shadow is just gonna do more damage. Infected Claw and All Will Serve might be better if you feel like you don't need it. But you're gonna get kited. You're gonna kite people in PP a lot, so it's usually the main choice. You can also choose the other two if you see that it's not needed. Now, this talent row here is a bit sketchy. So you might have noticed that a lot of DKs have been going Unholy Blight, me included. Now, the reason Unholy Blight is that increases your pet damage by 12%, so 4 times 3. And it also does decent damage. Basically, this does the same damage over time as this with both the dots up. But the increased dot damage, and then you don't have to press your dots up as much, so you don't lose that global. Also, it automatically puts Violent Plague on people around you, so it's nice. The only problem with this is that really good healers and high rating, they can just dispel it as soon as the buff goes away. So you have the buff for 6 seconds, so you only need 4 seconds of it to get 4 stacks. But what's going to happen is that really good healers, they're going to dispel it on the main target that you're trying to kill. It's going to be obsolete after 6 seconds. So they're not going to dispel it while you have it up, but then the second it goes away, they're just going to dispel it, and it's going to feel really bad. Now, if that happens a lot, you're probably going to go Even Fever, and then if Necrotic Strike becomes viable again, we're going to probably go Bursting Shores for that extra damage on Necrotic. So yeah, this one's a bit of a wildfire right now. Anyway, Asphyxiate, you're probably only gonna choose Asphyxiate here. Grip of the Dead is just too bad in PvP. If it was 90% movement speed slow constantly, it might have been good. The problem with this is that it doesn't really work. Resto Druids just walk out of it. Disc Priest, you can just have Chains of Ice on them, it's fine. Like this will only be good versus Resolutes, and they can actually just shapeshift, and the slow doesn't reapply, which is stupid. Death Reach, obviously kind of useless in PvP, so I might as well just Asphyxiate for that stun, even though it kind of sucks compared to other stuns. Now, this tree here is a bit interesting. So Soul Reaper is good. It does a lot of damage, as you can see, 3,600 damage. The problem with it is that it's dispellable. And it's a 5 seconds that you gotta predict that they're gonna be below 35% HP, which would have been nice if you could 6 seconds stun someone. Now the problem is, again, you would have to Soul Reaper then stun them, so they have the reaction time to dispel it, which if you can get them below 35%, a lot of good healers will just dispel it, but you have to press it before, or you need to Asphyxiate or Asphyxiate, Soul Reaper, then pet stun with an enraged pet. To make it 5 seconds total to 100% get the Soul Reaper off. There are ways around it, of course. It might be the meta, but Pestilence, well, whatever. I can't fucking pronounce it. This one, it's pretty good just to make your rotation more smooth, because you're only gonna have about 15 to 20% haste in Season 1. Also, Harbinger of Doom is probably decent. You can have stuff like Harbinger of Doom, and then you can play, you know, stuff like this here. Increases your damage of sudden doom death coil. Yeah, and then you can get this all the way up to 80%. So you can like increase your death coils to do like an insane amount of damage. And then you get more procs, and then you can also accumulate 2 stacks. Now keep in mind, these stacks are dispellable, so mages can purge it. Any class can purge it off you. It's really, really annoying, if you've noticed. Like, if you're at 100 runic power and you're like, okay, I want a death coil with this, and then suddenly you're like, wow, it's a free death coil, and like, I don't have runic power to death strike now. Like, it can fuck you over, because you can be on the global, you press it, and it can be dispelled right before. That's the only like bad thing about this, and also embrace death here. Anyway, the next one, Death Pact, it's still obsolete in PvP. The reason for this is that MS effect, etc. do affect this heal, because it's not a shield, it's a heal. And if this was supposed to be good, it needs to just not have the reduced healing. Like, it should just heal you for maybe 25% of your max HP, and then not have the absorb healing effect to it, and it might be viable. Blizzard just needs to change this. It's completely obsolete. You're never gonna pick it. It could be good in certain situations, but those situations are just stupid in my opinion. Wraithwalker is obviously nice. You can remove roots if you play Gnome, for example, versus Fire Mage. You can get out of every single root. You don't have to sit a single one, which is nice. But Spell Eater is probably going to be the go-to, usually, even versus double melee. And the reason is that a lot of classes still do a lot of magic damage because of the Covenant abilities and the Covenant passives and stuff. But it's yet to be known. Also, this is going to make your AMS 14 seconds with the AMS Legendary. So, 24 seconds, yeah. So it's going to be steep without 24-second AMS. They're not being able to be seasoned for that. But yeah, and this one, Pestilence, Unholy Pact, and Defile. Unholy Pact gives you 5% strength when you enrage your pet. And then it also does a lot of damage. It's about 10k damage total hitting on the damage. It says 5.3k, but it's way more than that, because the strength increase, and then you get your Fallen Crusader and stuff, and it seems to come from that. Defile and stuff, it might be decent if you're Night Fae or something, but Night Fae is not good in PvP at all. People can just walk out of your D&D anyway, and if people end up sitting in it, obviously they will lose 8% damage dealt to you if you spam damage on them with Defile, and maybe like the Legendary, but it doesn't seem like that's the way to go. Anyway, so the last row here, we have Army of the Damned, Summon Gargoyle, and Holy Assault. Now, I did some testing here. Gargoyle do a lot of damage, but it's really, really hard to set up properly, because, you know, stuff happens that is not, like, nothing you can do about. Like, the way you have to play Gargoyle is that you have to hold your runic power. Like, you need to be sitting at 100 runic power. Then you need to be death coiling from 100 down all the way to 20, and then Festering Strike again, and then another death coil for it to start like doing big damage. Then you also need to get death coil procs and do, like, you know, as much death coil as possible. And the problem is that sometimes you want to Death Strike, sometimes you want to Death Call yourself. I don't know if the Death Calling yourself increases the damage of it. It might, and that might be a way to get around it. Other than that, though, Army of the Damned just makes it so that your cooldowns line up better. So like Unholy Blight and Abom and Apocalypse, they just line up way better. But Unholy Assault is still better. It's 20% haste. It's a lot of fucking haste. The effect to it, though, is kind of bad. It's not that good for them to change it this way. The old version is way better. They could have just made the old version do damage and then give you 4 and then give you 1 per auto attack. That would have actually been better. But they just removed the 1 per auto attack. Basically, you got about 9 stacks previously with 30% haste. So you would probably get like 6. So this is like a nerf by 2 or so. And also you get them instantly. So it's not like you can have 5 stacks on the target, press this, and then like literally Necrotic Strike or Shadow Claw like 10 times in a row. Obviously, you still have Abomination in PvP though, so it's not that bad. When you had Unholy Forensia plus Abomination, you would get overcapped really easily. So that was a bit annoying. But yeah, that's the talents. Okay, so next up is how you would like to gear and what covenants you choose. Now, the 2 covenant choices for PvP is the Necrolord, and you'd probably choose the Plague Master. Like all the Necrolord things, they're kind of bad. You have increased crit from this guy, and then you have Faring People here, 45 second or 60 second cooldown for 4.5 seconds, but it's around you. The HP you get, it's dangerously low though. And then if you're playing against casters, it's useless, obviously. But then you can change this while you're in the arena, so it's not that bad, honestly. But the Plague guy is generally the best because of this right here. Just giving you a 15% shield every time you drop below 50% HP every 30 seconds is pretty fucking massive. The other one you can choose is the Kyrian. So the Kyrian, you would choose Clea most likely, and it would be a very defensive style where you would get stacks from Clea, and then you would just heal each other. It's just like a survival kind of style. But yeah, so you would only choose Necrolord or Kyrian. Night Fae is not good enough. Ventir is decent, but Night Fae is pretty trash because it's too easy to just walk out of the D&D that empowers you. Okay, so gearing for Shadowlands. Now, there's a problem here. So, as you guys know, they gave us the PvP vendors, right? Yup, they fucking do. Thank you, Blizzard. And then they fucked it. How do they fuck it? Let me show you guys. So, this is a character that still hasn't completed the quest for the Renown. So, you see, my Renown is 40 by automatic in the beta. When you start the game, it will be at 0, and you get about 4 levels per week. So first week, second week, season has started. Okay, then you get to 12, you know, blah. Now, the first week of the season, you know, the item level you can get from Mythic Plus, or just Mythic. Let's see what it is, right? It's 184. Okay, 184. And then they remove PvP scaling. Okay, so the item level you get and the mastery and the haste and everything you get is real, right? It's not fake. Now, you know, this is right as the season starts. So this is day 1 of the season. Okay, that's the highest level item level you can get from you know, anything in the game. 184. Okay. From PvP, how high can we get? Oh. 171. Thank you, Blizzard. Okay, so now that we know that we cannot get gear from the other vendor, we cannot get Conquest CS because the season hasn't started yet, right? What do we do to gear up? We can't do the raid yet. We can do world bosses, yes. That's nice, okay. It's pretty high item level for world bosses. So world bosses is your primary step from getting gear, it seems. Seems like classic at this point. And then dungeons is the second one. Now, I'll give you guys a link in the description of what dungeons you want to do and what items you can get from the dungeon. And yeah, If you don't want to do that and you want to be weak if season, like the week 1 of season 1, you can farm this, you can get the honor gear, and you can be weaker than everyone else. Which is sad, but this is just how it's gonna be, unless Blizzard fucking gets their act together and fixes this before the season starts, which is in 3 weeks. Okay, so the legendaries you want for PvP is going to be Frenzied Monstrosity, which is just going to give you 12% increased damage, which is the burstiest legendary. The other one is the most defensive one, is Death's Embrace. And then we have Deadliest Coil for reducing the cost of Death Coil. Now, Deadliest Coil might be okay, but these two are 100% sure going to be your go-to. So, legs and back or wrist and finger. So you need one of each of these. You'd want it before season 1 starts, and you want both of them. If that's possible or not, we don't really know yet. I'm pretty sure you can at least get one of them, and then I would probably choose the increased damage because that's more fun to play with, but hey, that's just me. Okay, so rotation for Unholy DK, it's not too complicated. It's in PvP, it's mostly keep Chains of Ice up, keep Dots up, Festering Strike, and then Shadow Claw if you have 3 or less. Don't Festering Strike if you have more than 3 Festering Wounds. You can get a chance of getting 3. It's 2 to 3 wounds. And also, you want to prioritize Shadow Clawing over Festering Strike most of the time. The reason for this is because of your Abomination and your Unholy Frenzy, Unholy Soul. It just gives you so much more runic power, Festering Wounds. So, basically, the way you can figure out if you're doing a DPS rotation correctly is that, you get on the target, and after you've been hitting the target for a while, you don't have, like, this weird ratio. Like, you guys can see I'm pressing Festering Strike most of the time here. Obviously, you have to keep your Chains of Us in PvP, and it's kind of annoying. It's every 8 seconds, you just gotta press global on it. It does give you, basically the way you can figure out if your Chains of Ice is worth it or not, is that you're getting auto attacks off constantly, as well as your pet ghoul being able to hit the target. People can just move how they want, but like you can see, we can easily get in a situation where we just don't have anything to press for a while. Now, you do not need 4 Festering Wounds to go for an Apocalypse when you play this build here with the Necromancer Bargain. It's not that important. Obviously, it's more bursty, but it really does not matter too much. When you enrage your pet, you want to have Unholy Blight stacks up if it's possible. You kind of just want to press it on cooldown if you're trying to just do damage that way. A lot of the time, though, you'll hold your cooldowns in PvP. But yeah, like, you have still a lot of gaps in PvP where you just, don't get to do anything. So it's kind of annoying. But the way you can check if you're doing your DPS rotation correctly is, like, you can see here the ratio for Festering Strikes to Shadow Claws. So yeah, as you can see, I did 7 Festering Wounds, Festering Strikes, sorry, and then 24 Shadow Claws. So that's the basic rotation. This is like how to maximize your damage, it's just popping your cooldowns on cooldown. It's not that amazing, really. You can run over a lot of teams towards a low rating. When you get up to the higher rating, though, you're going to end up holding cooldowns to try to force the enemy cooldowns, and then again use your cooldowns then to kill them, or force really long big cooldowns like Divine Shield, etc. Anyway, so defensive gameplay for DK, because Death Strike was nerfed so heavily, so it's not the old way it used to be, where you heal for 40% of the damage you took in 5 seconds, and then plus the versatility. So if you had 30% verse, it will go up to 52% of your max or the HP you took in the last 5 seconds. Now instead, what it is, it's 20% of your damage taken in the last 5 seconds. Now this just makes you squishier. You're more relying on your healer to keep you up, and you also just have to kite way more. So like, if you imagine this is a pillar, you would be Chains of Icing, putting dots up, and then using range ability. So you just Shadow Claw without anything on them. Now, what happens a lot in PvP, though, is that you would have to dismiss your pet either because it's about to die or because like dot classes are having dots on the pet, and then they are getting, because you can easily avoid getting casted dots on you here, like UA and VT, but you cannot avoid it on your pet because it's on the target. So you know, just dismiss your pet, dismiss macro. This is my dismiss macro over here. I have a video on all the macros. It's a very, very simple macro though. It's just, you know, slash pet dismiss, and then show tilt tip Blood Fury. But yeah, so you're gonna have to kite way more than you did before, which is gonna make your damage weaker, obviously. You obviously have, you know, sacrifice pack now. That is nice, but it's 25%, then it's going to be MS effect. It's only going to heal you for about 15% of your max HP. So it's not that good for being a 2-minute cooldown. Now, getting kills is an Unholy DK though. So basically, you have a way you can chain CC the healer. There's 2 ways to win the game basically, or 3. It's 1, chain kicking the healer. The way you do this is that you mind freeze first. So you'll mind freeze. And then after the mind freeze, you can either asphyxiate the cast, pet kick, pet stun the cast. So, you know, you can choose whatever you want. You know, enrage pet, stun the cast of the target you're hitting. And then you want to do this at the last second of the cast. And then, you know, when he casts the next cast, you want to kick it. And then you want to pet stun the next cast. And then you're going to have your mind freeze back again. Now, the CC rotation you're doing to the healer is about 24 seconds. It's super, super long, and not a lot of Unholy DKs know that they can do the entire rotation around, and then, you know, you can use Death Grip as well to stop the cast, and then you get a second mind freeze. So you have to start a rotation with mind freeze. That's the only rule. You have to kick them first with mind freeze to get another mind freeze on them. And then you might be asking, like, how are you stopping the cast for so long, you know, 20 seconds? It adds up. I can give you guys the numbers on the screen, etc. Usually this is the way you would play. The only problem is that BFA Season 4, the casts of abilities were too fast, and there's too many instant casts, to the point where it didn't matter. Except versus Resto Shamans. Resto Shamans you could still fuck over pretty hard by doing this, because they didn't play high haste. Now that's the one way to get a kill. The second way is to make the target, so you can like pretend this is a pillar. You can grip them behind a pillar and stun them, and then kill them within that stun before the healer gets in line of sight. The third way to win the game is to CC the healer. Now you can obviously do a combination of all of this, right? You can kick the healer, then CC the healer, then get a second mind freeze off, and then when you've done that, then you grip the target behind the pillar and stun him. You know, so the best would be a combination of all of those 3 ways. But you only need one of them to actually win the game. You can kill targets in just a couple of seconds with this trinket here, the Skulker Wing that you get from the first boss of the raid. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy that. Happy Unholy DK in Shadowlands Season 1. Peace.